Whatever. I just sit here and watch it happen in slow motion.
What is up, Patreon crew? I'm figuring out why the live chat
is
room
disabled.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go in here and let's say enable live chat. I'm gonna try it again. Enable live chat. Just figuring out why it's not activated. Refresh now. See if it's popping up. There we go.
Yep.
Should work now. It might just be because we did a unlisted live stream for this post show. We are joined by everyone other than Jeremy. So let me just move the names around because Jeff is now both Jeff and Jeremy. So let me take out Jeremy's name. Caitlin, Darren, Jeff. Let's move his down. And there we go. All good. So first of all, thank you, Patreon crew, for the support. If you're new, welcome. If you are old, welcome. We just can't thank you guys enough for the continued support. And honestly, this last weekend was a lot for you guys too. You were all out there. I'm looking at the wrong camera. You're all out there pretty much the entire time, jumping into the live stream and giving your support. Jeff and Darren can attest. They were reading a lot of the comments. Caitlin was too. Darren, tilt your laptop up. Your screen tilted back.
Oh,
there we go. Because we end up cropping a little bit, but now you're perfect. So we've got Jeff, we've got Caitlin, we've got Darren here in the post show. If you have questions about what it's like to crew something like this or what it was like for them, bring on the questions. The live chat room's going.
Yep, we're
good.
Cool. We did have an interesting question in the main show. I'm not sure who asked it. They asked if any of the crew had questions for Ethan. So do any of you guys have a question for Ethan, or you can think about it, or if you have any further questions for your crew? No, you've already talked a lot.
I'll. Caitlin does.
Okay, but Ethan, you can start if you had something to say.
I was going to give you time to think.
Okay. I have a question. So my question for Ethan is that I feel like doing some sort of event like this and knowing that you're not doing it by yourself and that you're relying pretty heavily on crew and pacers, I mean, that's a pretty intimate, I know you're already breaking the boundaries kind of what people do sharing this kind of experience, but you also were sharing this experience with all of us on the trail. And some of us have run with you. Maybe most of us have, but also in somewhat limited settings. So I guess I'm curious for you, like what it was like reaching out to people that you maybe have just a limited experience running with and not pacing or crewing you ever at a race before. And if that helped, or if you had any sort of doubts or were worried about how people would blend together, because you brought a lot of people together to help, which was so much fun. And I think it all worked out really well, but I could see how leading into it, that might be a little bit stressful.
It was, coming up with the list was stressful because it needed to be someone that I'd had experience with. So I've had experience with all of you guys one way or another. So Jeff and Jen helped with Wonderland. It was obvious that they're very talented ultra runners, so the distance was an issue. They know their way around camera. I know that Jeff knows his way around a camera, taking photographs for a lot of events recently and stuff. The real logistic is are they willing to come up from Portland to do this? And last we talked, they were all on board. So I felt like it was a huge gift to get both of them on board. Darren has been a long-time friend and long-time supporter, and he and I have run a lot together since I moved back to Seattle. So it's been a great sort of introduction to him. He's a great ultra runner. We ran a race in California that he nailed. I did not nail it that day, but he's just a really good, solid ultra runner and gets it. So I knew having Darren on board. He's the kind of guy that's like, I'm not going to let you quit. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to let you quit. And when he looks at you and says that sort of thing, you don't want to argue with it. You just believe him. And you, Caitlin, obviously, you have it's not just the resume. That's great. You're an incredible ultra runner, but it's caring. I've only run with you a couple of times, but it's obvious that you're engaged in stories. You have a ton of stories, and I just needed someone that just gets it. When I'm feeling like shit, maybe you know what it's like to be there and to just throw a story oh man, remember this one time I did this and I was puking from mile 60 to 80 or whatever, and I still finished second or whatever. I needed that sort of professional sort of aspect to it, someone who's been around the block. That's also why I asked Jeremy and Gavin. Jeremy is pretty seasoned. He also comes from big mountains from Montana. Knows what it's like to be out there and to do some big epic stuff and just do it. And Gavin is like, we all know Gavin is 100K is a warm up for that guy. And I knew even just he didn't end up running with us at all, but having him just tell me, yeah, man, I'll be there. You let me know. I have stuff in the morning, but I'll be there in the afternoon. And just having him in that parking lot and seeing his face, I was like, holy shit, Gavin is here. He wants to help. That's going to be 100% support. Like if I had a rough moment at any point when Gavin was there, he would have just looked at me and said, what the fuck is going wrong with you, man? Like just turn around, go out there, run. Like it's fine. I survived 30 hours in sub-zero temperatures during the Iditarod run, you know, like that sort of thing. I think he'd be much more caring than that. But the crew was purposeful. And there were members, like there are friends. We have friends locally who we also wanted to bring along that were unavailable.
Couldn't be here, yeah.
But it only just would have meant more people in the parking lot, but it still was like a team of all-stars. Everyone had their place.
And Ethan and I have talked about it a number of times before and since that, like, we're both so lucky that, like, Ethan really had some of the very best runners in the Pacific Northwest with him on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
You know?
There was never a point when, like, there was some points where I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I'll ever be able to finish this. But there was never a point where I doubted my crew's ability to get me out of that mindset.
Right.
Because you all are so seasoned and everyone has been either present to greatness or been greatness. Man, the hands that we were in, you couldn't have asked for better hands. Like there was no amateurs. Even if there were, the amateurs would have been just like, oh my God, this is a learning experience. It's a sponge and, you know, all that sort of thing. It was just pros. You guys are all pros.
I really hope people see this not only following your journey, but seeing how you can give back to the community. And one way you can do that is crew and pace, you know, a friend or even a stranger that reaches out on Facebook the night before and says, I don't have a pacer. And I really hope that, you know, people see that as a way to experience these goals that people are setting, and they can become your goals. I mean, your goal instantly, the second, you know, you rolled in that parking lot, like your goal was my goal. And we both got different things probably out of it, but in the end, we had the same goal.
It is so easy for me and with like anxiety and with other things like that to just get wrapped up in your own head and to just think this little world that I live in is it. And I can't escape this, or it's my own thing. It's my own problem to solve. But I think I thought about this maybe loop 3 or 4, and then again loop 8 or 9, was that you guys were all there. Like I reached out asking friends to just come do this thing, and then I realized it was my friends who showed me that no matter what I'm going through in this little bubble, that I can just step out of it for a little bit. And no matter, you know, anxiety is going to be there forever. It's not like, oh my God, this 100K cured it. Mm-hmm. But for sure, having a crew there of people who, like, if I started having a panic attack or something at mile whatever in the middle, like this loop, of course, but it just out there, you guys would have been totally, I would have said something, you guys would have been like, cool, let's just deal with it. Like whatever we need to do, we'll just roll with it. Like I had full faith that you guys would understand and motivate and continue to like push me on. And it was a pretty wonderful thing. Most of my life is spent like, I don't want to burden people with this stuff I deal with. You were the last people I felt like it would have been a burden. It just would have been cool. Here's just another hiccup. Let's eat. First and foremost, Ethan, eat. Maybe that'll help it. Or let's get some water in you. Or let's get you moving forward, you know, stuff like that. Surround yourself with friends. That's what I figured out this weekend.
And people will show up for you.
Yeah, you just have to ask.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
I was really afraid everyone would say no. I was like, oh my God, people are going to say no.
I said no.
Darren, yeah, like a year ago when I told Darren about the project, he's like, no, ask me in 12 months. But yeah, everyone was a yes. Even Caitlin, who like had plans for the whole weekend, she's like, well, listen, I can only make a certain amount of time, but she's like, she ended up showing up earlier than I expected her and stayed longer than I expected and ran so much more than I anticipated. It's just a testament to ultra runners and just good humans. And another reason why we moved to the Northwest was because of good humans. Not that LA doesn't have good humans, but it certainly has less good humans than the Northwest.
I will say, and I just said this already, but I will say that like our experience since living back here is the willingness for people to show up.
Yeah.
Like for whatever reason in life.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
And
cool.
I know, Caitlin, you have projects in your mind of things you want to do this summer. And if you were to ever ask for help, you have 8 new people that would drop anything at a moment's notice to come help. And
I don't know about Destiny.
No, Destiny wouldn't. Yeah, Destiny would not. She wouldn't help.
I'm
Same
not
for
really
Jeff.
a fan of yours.
Yeah.
Jeff and Jen.
Such good glitter. I would need her there for
She's
glitter.
was
so
that?
great. God, she's great.
Yeah.
Same with Jeff and Darren. Like, if you guys had the projects, you have a crew of people that would just like, what can I do to help? Let's make it happen.
Absolutely.
What's going on in the chat?
Nathaniel had a question kind of for everyone, and I feel like you're kind of answering it already. Nathaniel had asked, what's your biggest takeaway from this experience? Can any of the crew kind of comment on that?
Let's start with you, Jeff.
Whoever has an answer.
Yeah. So my interaction with your community is it's probably a little less than maybe other people, and I think that was one of my takeaways that I wasn't so much expecting, was the interaction that I was going to have by reading the comments. And, a couple of the takeaways were all over the world. Like I asked, like, where are you guys watching from? And, Sweden, UK, Texas, I think Iran.
Yep.
Like, I was blown away by the people that showed up to support you. And also the interaction that was going on amongst themselves. Like, it was a really cool way. It was just a cool example of community. That was one of my biggest takeaways, is just what you have. And it's inspiring. Like, that was such a breath of fresh air for me, and motivates me to get out there, and motivates me to, plan a goal and want to complete it. So. Yeah.
Darren?
Double, triple check your tech.
No doubt.
Yeah, I know. I had a couple of my internal freak out moments. I would never show that externally, especially as you were dealing with everything. But I had a couple of freak out moments. But double and triple check tech. Double check what batteries and stuff that you need for something like this, if anybody was ever wanted to attempt to do something like this again, because there were some scary moments there. I was like, no, I don't want this to go down. And then what else would be a good takeaway? I think the best takeaway out of this is, if you got a goal, I think if you have something in mind, specifically not even just a race, but just an adventure, just go do it. Just go do it. And get your people that you really, really like together. That's an awesome crew that you really, really trust with basically your life, and go get it done, man. That's it.
No doubt. What about you, Caitlin?
First one is that running with a gimbal is actually really fun. I had a lot of fun doing it, but I didn't really know what I was doing either. So I definitely was I told you guys, filming the ferns a few times, trying to readjust it. And you were so alert, the level of alertness that when I and that was second to last loop, I would say uh-oh once, and you would immediately what's wrong? What's wrong? It's the number one thing as a crew, you're not supposed to show any stress. So Darren did a much better job. I was just I talked to myself, so I was trying to figure things out. So I don't know, whatever. I've got a ways to go to be better at that, but yeah, I don't know. I guess that's it. And the other thing, I guess, is just it was really cool to see all of these people come together and support you. So I think, drawing on what Jeff said about people in the chat room supporting live, and what Darren said about everyone just coming in and seeing you set this goal and go for it. And I know you've already talked a little bit about how you had some anxiety surrounding it, and I had hints of that a little bit before, because you've kind of mentioned, we've run a few times before on Cougar, and you start running long and people are, you're mumbling and chatting. And so, I knew this was a big deal, but I think coming and seeing you complete this goal, and seeing the range of emotions that you and most people go through when they set something that they don't think is possible to achieve, and then they they get through it like that. It's just such a powerful thing to see. So I was really glad to be there and witness that. And I think that anyone who else was following along and saw more than just the finish and saw, you know, parts, highs and lows throughout the day, like it's just such a cool thing that you put out there for people to experience. So
it
nice
is.
job.
Thanks. I watched. I mean, I watched as much of it as I could today. I didn't sit down for the full 14 hours, but it was like the second part. It's really interesting to watch it all play out in real time, and it's far more engaging than I thought it would be. Like I don't know if it's because I'm watching my butt for 3 hours,
It's
and
very engaging.
I really like it, but it was really interesting because you guys are all having conversations and you hear these little moments of like they're interacting with like Jeff, you're interacting with the chat room. You know, you'd call out a person from wherever, or Caitlin, you're cracking a joke with someone off screen or that sort of thing. And it is this really unique reliving of life, like a full day of life. It is crazy to think that what we just did is a real thing. Like live streaming it, and it's all captured and it's all archived and it's there like that. I'm excited and I'm worried because I'm like, will I ever do this again? You know, that sort of thing. I just want to show everyone the tech that these three individuals had to deal with.
John had actually asked, batteries and charging, huge logistical barrier. How did you keep the gimbal going for 14 hours?
I know people like this stuff, and I know some people don't like to get too deep into it, so I'll try to be as brief as possible. The gimbal is what's called an Osmo Mobile 2. So it basically holds your phone in this little thing right here. It has only a couple buttons on the front, but this is the new DJI Osmo Mobile 2. It came out a couple of months ago. I bought 4 or 5 different gimbals, all of which that did different things, had different apps that controlled them and different power. So we had a couple of fail points. So my big worry was fail points. One is battery power. What battery is going to fail first? It's going to be the iPhone. So we did a test. We did a live stream test last week. It proved that live streaming on YouTube would last, my phone battery would last maybe 60 to 80 minutes if you're lucky, because you're dealing with cell data and stuff like that. If you have other apps open, it'll drain faster. If you have any other notifications or push stuff happening in the background, it would take the battery out faster. So I knew our first fail point would be the cell battery. We had to keep that charged. So what I did was I came up with a little system here mounted on the bottom of the gimbal itself. This is one of 3. And now in hindsight, I would have done it differently. We have...
so we're going to do this all again next weekend.
I basically created...
That was just a trial run.
Yeah.
That was a trial run.
That was a practice.
We've got our 1 million subscriber mark coming up. I basically created these little tripod adapter battery charge stations. This one was king number 1. So this battery is a 10,000 milliamp battery. It can easily recharge a phone pretty quickly. It has 1 USB port, and we would screw this into the bottom of the gimbal and plug the phone in directly to this. You can plug your phone into the gimbal and let the gimbal charge your phone, but then you can't charge the gimbal simultaneously. And then that sucks the charge out of the gimbal. So we have 2 batteries basically failing at once, the phone and the gimbal. The phone is faster, so this was charging the phone. When this battery failed, we would go to the second pack of batteries, which is actually 3 different USB batteries, which would charge at different rates. The problem was that what we found out, Darren, I think in real time, was that the phone was drawing more charge than what could charge the phone. So we went from 100% to like 44% in the matter of a loop, which the math basically works out that wouldn't have lasted another loop had we not charged the phone faster than what it was actually drawing, which I didn't bring it out here, but we basically it was a backup last resort emergency battery. It was a big 22,000 milliamp battery. Kim might even be able to grab it. Oh, Gus is having a scratch fit. He's scratching his wounds. It's a 22,000 milliamp battery. It's essentially a 3-pound brick that can charge a laptop, a phone, and a gimbal simultaneously. It was like emergency, throw this in your pack. Let's see what we can charge. So that's what we did. From loop 5 maybe on 5 or 6, somewhere in there. Everyone who ran with the gimbal, Caitlin, Jeff, and Darren, had to run with the power brick, which had a USB cord plugged into both the phone and then also the gimbal. So the gimbal's supposed to last 15 hours. I was thinking we wouldn't have to charge the gimbal at all. Turns out, how many hours do you think we could have gotten out of this total, Darren? Do you think maybe 6?
I'd say maybe 5 or 6 max.
Which is crazy. So less than half of what it actually is advertised at. That was a problem I anticipated. So we had the Big Daddy battery that everyone had to carry. So yeah, major skills these 3 individuals had with the whole camera, gimbal, battery juggling thing.
And upper body strength
And
for
upper
runners.
body strength. I mean, these are heavy. These aren't light. This is like 2 pounds, another pound. It's crazy.
Once again, the multitasking capabilities, especially too, Jeff in particular. Caitlin, you ran with it as well to do that. That's just amazing, dude. I seriously, I do not know how you weren't tripping because that was just awesome to see.
It was quite impressive. And Caitlin, who has told me she's a tripper, and I've witnessed.
I am too.
You guys didn't trip at all.
No, and no one fell. That was the first rule.
Rule number 1.
Rule number 1 was not to fall. And
rule number.
Gavin's son fell.
Well, he wasn't running with us.
Oh.
Rule number 2 was not to die.
The rules.
No, he didn't know the
Not
rules.
die yet.
Yeah.
Rule number 1, no falling. Rule number 2, no dying. Any other last minute questions?
People are asking about your watch. Did you have your watch on low energy?
So this is the brand new Cinto 9, which they sent to me a couple weeks ago. I was impressed early on with its ability to track, and then not so impressed with the last loop. I put it on. I think I'm still learning it, but I put it on. It lasts like 24 hours out of the box or something like that on a track, and then I put it to 14 hours out of the box, 24-hour mode, 60-hour mode, and like 120-hour mode or something. So I put it on 24-hour mode, and that was all I did to change anything. It was working what I thought greatly all day until even just after the last loop when we went back out for that last 2 miles. It was only updating every half mile, so it wouldn't actually click over.
Oh,
and so I would sit there, look at my watch. I'm like, we just ran a mile. I think my watch is saying that it's still in the parking lot, and I'd have to run until it clicked over, and then it would click over like a quarter mile beyond where it should have been.
Just what you want to do at the end of
Oh my God.
is run like a little bit extra just in case.
I mean, in my mind, I'm going, well, if it was a sanctioned race, I wouldn't care, right?
Right.
You'd have your track. But then on Sunday, I went back out there and tracked my walk, and I got back to the parking lot, and it said 3.95 miles. I was like, oh, great. But it was still only updating every half mile. So I ended the workout, uploaded that, and now Strava says I only went 3.1 miles. But
That'll make your coach happier.
Yeah, but this still says 3.9. It's like, I don't know what's going on with this watch, but for what I'm guessing is I think it's $800 retail. I'm mad, and I don't know if it's my fault or if it's the watch's fault, but I'm going to blame the watch for now.
Hey, Ethan, I don't know if this is breaking the rules, but can we ask your community a question?
Yeah.
This is breaking the
This
rules.
is breaking the rules.
I have no idea. I was wondering what their highlight was of this whole experience, the ones who followed it. I don't know if someone could chime in. What was something that stuck out to them?
We'll give them a couple seconds. I think there's
Yeah.
there's like a 20-second delay. So
Yeah, okay.
Jeff, go ahead and repeat your question, and we'll get the comments in the chat.
Yeah, so my question is to your Patreon supporters. For those of you who watched the live stream, what was your highlight, and maybe what was one of the things that wasn't so much of a highlight?
Great question. And Cypher in the chat room saying that sounds like a typical Sunto Spartan. I had the issues with the Spartan. I agree. I didn't think it would happen with this watch. I'm also curious as to if any of you guys would do this again. Not like come support me, do a live stream, but do like a live stream run. Would this be something that you would be interested in doing at any point? Like, how does that sit with you guys? Darren, let's start with you. Then we'll go Caitlin, then Jeff. Darren?
So I would do it again, knowing now what we just learned. I would definitely do it again, considering I know all these things, especially because lessons learned, and I can apply that. I would do it again, but it would just have to be under the right circumstances, I think, too.
Caitlin?
Yeah, I agree with Darren that in the right circumstances, I would do it again. But I think like I like sharing that kind of raw side of things, but I also feel like part of me wants to be a little bit protective of that and not make this like an everyday thing that I'm going to stream all of my runs. But I think what you did was pretty special. So
yeah, imagine following a camera following you at Western States. Would that have been?
Well, when I first joined in on the lap, my first lap when I got there, I think you said something like, Caitlin, like, come tell me some stories. And then suddenly Darren was right behind with the I think, was it you, Darren, at that point? I think so.
I don't know. It all blends
Okay,
together.
someone was right behind with the camera. And I started trying to chat with you. And then I looked back and I was like, camera. Like, I didn't really know what to say. So I think maybe you get to a certain point in the run where you just kind of are zoning into the thing. So at that point, like, I wouldn't care if there was someone filming me, but to try to like entertain a camera would be really hard. Yeah. I don't think I could do what you did, Ethan. So
I had the easy job. I just had to move forward. You guys had to carry pounds and like support, and you guys ran.
You had people asking you questions, and we were asking you questions, and there's still a little bit of like trying to engage with the chat room even while you were running. So,
what about you, Jeff? You did a great job communicating with the chat room and running and jumping stumps. Would you do this sort of thing again?
Well, I think storytelling I'm always a huge fan of storytelling. I think I agree with everyone else, though, that the right person, the right story, the right circumstances. I don't think this is something for everyone, and I can see it being used for not the right reasons. But, for me, this live streaming was second to supporting you, Ethan, in achieving your goal. And it just so happened this was a part of your goal. But yeah, I would definitely do it again. Technical wise, I think it was a really interesting, unique thing to do and to capture this type of storytelling. Yeah, I would do it again.
Sweet. We got tons of responses to Jeff's question to the live chat. So I think this is
I'm just gonna whip through some of these pretty fast here.
Go for it.
Google Bot Me says, my highlight was Caitlin's sprints with the camera. Ryan Flint says doing the extra 0.03 miles at the end.
In the parking lot. Yeah. Stupid watch.
Jeremy says the interaction with the live stream was my favorite. Raphael says the end and the last half lap of the parking lot. Aaron Chu says getting to see the large crew that jumped in with Ethan was huge. Cypher says I returned my Spartan Ultra. Calvin says I loved the commentary from everyone and seeing everyone's character live. Also their interactions with Ethan. Jen Hammond says highlight seeing you power it out at the end.
Yeah.
Empathy, as we've all had those moments, and seeing Happy Gus greeting you at the aid station. Jerry says the perseverance and determination, nothing specific, but the overall getting it done attitude. Let's see here. Key Lime says, I love the chatter by the crew. I still want to know the answer to Jen's riddle, which we brought it up at brunch, and it never was answered, I don't think.
I need to remember the time. So this is a request for those watching is to, if you do watch this again, find the time codes. I know, me too. Find the time codes of the interesting moments. So that's one thing I tried to do today. That's why I was watching it, was to find time codes, because I can put those in the comments and you can actually just click and go to an interesting moment. One of those I forgot to find today was Jen. She pitched me a riddle at the end of loop, I believe it was 5, when shit was not going well for me. My mind was, it was in a bad place. And I love riddles, but she picked the wrong time to ask it. It was one of those puzzle riddles.
You should have another giant beer. Puzzle riddles.
Jeff, do you remember this riddle?
It's called Green Glass Door, and actually both puddles and what was the other one and puzzles can both go through the green glass door. So dogs dogs cannot go through the green glass door, but puppies can. And I'm not going to give it away, but I mean, do we really want to? We can spend the next 20 minutes will be Ethan trying to figure out the green glass.
Yeah, there's a lot more.
Go find it in the live stream. It happens right towards the end of loop 5. Listen to Jen's explanation and some of the clues she gives me. My brain could not comprehend the order at which she was giving them, or it was a bad time for me to do that.
Bad
but
time.
I could not stop thinking about it, and I still don't know the answer. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to try to figure it out.
Yeah, I want to hear it too.
Yeah, it was a great riddle.
Sarah Dorado in the chat room, who was also
there
for a little bit, says one highlight was seeing my non-running spouse get caught up in watching the finish. Even those not in the sport could love what was being accomplished.
That's cool.
Ashley says Loop 9 and watching you run in with Kim and Gus. Mealy says Gus.
Margaret says, I thought there was a huge value in showing the reality of an ultra in real time. So many running videos just show highlights and make it look like a short process. You mentioned that, Jeff, and as a filmmaker who's followed Gary during a 60-hour ultra marathon multiple times and intends to continue to tell these stories, you shoot all this footage and you edit it down for storytelling purposes, and you really only show a micro fraction of what really occurs out there. So this is one of the few moments where anything like this exists. Where you can sit down and watch 14 plus hours of just talking, running, lush greenery, a little bit of suffering.
And you brought it up,
bio
I think,
breaks.
at brunch or at brunch, I think, but just the content that's out on YouTube right now, and what is out there, and I think that it was very intentional for you to live stream this to show that you can use this technology for very genuine, very real and raw reasons and personal reasons, and not just watch a cat bat a ball around for 14 hours, which, Darren, that may be something.
Cat videos? Did someone say cat videos?
Yeah. But, I mean, I think that was, there's a real value in having this out there, because it does show on a platform like YouTube that you can have a very genuine content.
Can eggs go through the green glass door?
Eggs can go through the green glass door.
Can a didgeridoo go through the green glass door?
I don't know the correct spelling of didgeridoo.
That might be the hint. Is that I don't know the correct spelling.
Yeah.
Of didgeridoo.
What about
We already
a
know
daddy?
the
Can a
answer.
daddy go through the green glass door?
Daddy can go through, but Papa cannot.
That answers my question. Is it a double letter?
You got it.
Someone in the chat room actually got it.
But I already.
Shocking.
Yeah. Never mind.
Well,
I think
that
Kim
is a
had
beautiful thing.
Yeah,
I think-
I was like, I'm
I
not
shouldn't
going
have
to
given
tell
the
you
answer
how
away, but
I already had it.
Still, go find that riddle in real time, because I think that would be great for the live
I'm just
viewers
like
and stuff.
thinking about your brain on loop 5 and Jen trying to tell you this.
I was rolling my eyes just like Ethan's rolling. I'm like, don't do this.
But
Jen.
it's also I get it. She wanted to
Oh yeah.
get my mind out of it, and I think it worked because I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah.
So
But
let's
also, the really cool thing too is that you were running when like people were saying that they were injured. Like I thought that was also a very interesting thing. That feels like we're doing our long run vicariously through this because we can't, and I think that's another really awesome positive takeaway from this.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you, 3. Jeff, please thank Jen. Caitlin, thank Ellie for donating
Donating
his time.
you
No,
on Saturday.
for
For being awesome.
for being
Thank you, Ellie,
awesome.
for being
Everybody
awesome.
should get themselves a Caitlin.
What I was gonna say was thank him for logging miles and like sharing experiences with me on the trails and helping me get to the ability on Saturday. Darren, thank Austin for being a great support member as well. I know that she wished she could have been out there yelling at me. Apparently, she's an
Aggressive
incredible
encouragement,
support.
She's
Yeah,
an aggressive
aggressive.
encourager.
but, please thank your wife, and that was really wonderful. Thank you, Patreon supporters.
Yes.
You guys are incredible people who have supported this whole project, Ginger Runner, since we started the Patreon side of things. We have wraps coming. They're on their way. They're being manufactured and they'll be shipped. We also have GRGR stuff happening very soon. I realized today almost all of us had GRVR shirts on, which was pretty neat. Totally
Darren didn't know.
accidental.
Darren didn't know.
Darren didn't know. It's
I
okay.
didn't get the memo.
It's okay. Caitlin, I don't even think has one. We had one here for Caitlin, but then we sold it. But we're gonna.
I'll share mine with you, Caitlin.
We're gonna be doing a GRGR orders and stuff here very soon to register for this year's event. Very excited and stuff like that. So stay tuned,
Yep.
Patreon crew. You guys know the drill. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Darren. You guys are incredible humans, and I appreciate everything you guys did for this whole thing this weekend.
Love you, Ethan. Love you,
you guys.
Kim.
Love you
Congrats,
guys.
Ethan.
Thanks, guys. And we
Yeah,
all
that's
need to get tacos and margaritas soon. Caitlin planted the seed, and now that's all I want. Margaritas and tacos.
We'll make it happen.
We'll make it
We'll
happen.
drive up.
Sweet. Thank you, Patreon crew. Get out there, guys. Train hard, race harder, party the hardest. You know the drill. We'll let you go. Enjoy the rest of your Monday night or morning, depending on where you are in the world. And we'll see you guys next week. Okay. Bye.
Bye.